Hello, everybody. It's the interview queen, Alicia Atout here, and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you all to my interview with Milo from the Descendents. Hello.
Hello.
How are you? How are you doing over there?
I'm doing great. Yeah, it's been a long time away from live music, so I'm hoping to play some live shows.
Yes, absolutely. We're definitely going to be diving into the new record in a moment, but I just wanted to ask you how some of your downtime kind of been spent lately because the world has bizarrely given people a lot more time to stay home and just relax a little bit.
Yeah, well, I guess because I couldn't play live with the band, I tried to fill it with more recording and doing little projects for YouTube with people. Like, one thing that cropped up during this whole kind of pandemic period was all these bands that decided to, or all these groups that's decided to put together videos of cover videos of cover
Yes.
songs. So I got swept up in that, and I've done some covers of songs. It's fun, I'm not necessarily like a YouTube kind of like guy, but I figured I could contribute when they want me to. But that was fun. And then of course we did a lot of recording, and we recorded this Ninth and Walnut, but we've also recorded a bunch of other stuff for another Descendants record that will probably come
Right.
next year. So
Well, speaking to the YouTube stuff, we're not going to be seeing you on there having your own channel. Hello, it's Milo. Welcome to my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
no, that's not. And the other thing I noticed is
Messing about.
a lot of podcasts and a lot of podcasts by like punk rock people, and I don't know. I guess I just don't feel like I could provide the personality for that. But
Oh,
I'd rather just stick behind the mic, so to speak.
right. Well, it is such an exciting time to be a fan of the band, along with in the band, because Ninth and Walnut comes out very, very soon. So at this point, when it comes to releasing albums, do you still kind of get hit with those pre-release jitters, or do the nerves not really get to you anymore?
Well, I think once the album's finished and in the can, I kind of feel like, hey, I'm happy with it. I don't really care how well it's received. I mean, I guess I don't want it to bomb, but at the same time, I kind of just feel like, it is what it is, and people can either like it or not. But I feel like, especially in our dealings with our Epitaph, that everyone's just really jazzed about it. So at least that's the kind of thing. It's like I probably care more about what Epitaph thinks, because they're just a bunch of they're fans of punk rock,
Yeah.
and so it's like I feel like they have discerning tastes. So they gave us a huge thumbs up on it, and I'm pretty good with that. I don't really get too kind of swept up in what the critics are saying. So yeah.
Right. Well, the songs from this release, I know that they've been shelved for close to 40 years when you're just going in between the first phase and the second one there, they're picked up again. So was there kind of an aha moment for all of you recently where you realized, hey, we have this material, why not just revisit it and finally release these tracks?
Yeah, I mean these were recorded in 2002,
Hmm.
but the songs were written, right as you said, they were written in 78 around, and so it's this weird journey that they've taken where they were written, but then not even recorded. I mean, you can find a few live versions on the YouTube, but not even from that period. So I think it came in phases. The first phase was that they were basically in our brains, and that's where they resided until 2002, when Bill said, we're going to record these, and he got Frank and Tony, the original guitarist and bassist, up into his studio, and they recorded them then. So then the question always is, well, why didn't I just add vocals then? Well, I was trying to be a scientist at that point. Had this whole science career going,
Right.
and I was kind of like, well, I'm just going to do my science thing. Bill had played me the songs, and I thought these are great. And some of these songs I actually played with the band back in 1980. So some of them actually I was very familiar with. But then what happened is during COVID, I was recording all of our new material, and got to the end of a phase of that, and thought, I just want to keep going. I want to keep
You
the
got the
fire.
bug.
I just wanted the momentum. I had that momentum, and I thought, hey, Bill, send me out the stuff that you did with Frank and Tony. I'm gonna work on that, and that was the final hurrah of
Wow.
making it all work out. But it was probably my most I'd say worthwhile experience during COVID. And it's one of those things where I think about, COVID obviously was a terrible, terrible thing. I can see this as a silver lining that we made this record, because I feel like we may, it would have kind of sat around for even more years if COVID hadn't provided this kind of like halt in my activities to then allow me to do it, basically. So thanks, COVID.
Because of course, as bands grow, they evolve, and the latest records you guys have been putting out lyrically, it's a lot more mature because you're writing about things you relate to now. So how fun was it for you to kind of have a little bit of a throwback of being given some of these songs and singing about those types of things, those lyrics that are on some of the singles we've been able to hear? They're just so fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's a way of kind of hearkening back to our less mature teen years. Frank and Tony wrote all the songs, and Frank especially, he really had a very kind of bitter side to him as a teen. He really was an outsider. And actually, when I joined the band, that's what I identified most with him, is that he had this huge chip on his shoulder. And so revisiting these songs allowed me to kind of get back into that psyche of the angry, bitter Frank, and kind of and realize that was one of the things that drew me to the band in the beginning anyways, that we were a bunch of misfits. And so I guess that I take this opportunity with this record as a chance to kind of, revisit that misfit phase of my life. So yeah. Or that's what makes it less mature, right? Because we're like teenage misfits and we're just lashing out at the world, basically.
Right, and at that point too, you're still trying to figure things out. The band's fairly new, so it's kind of cool being able to reflect on that and almost elevate it in a sense now, since you guys have grown so much. But that's why I'm so excited to hear the entire thing, because you have those lyrics which are a throwback, but then you have the sound where you guys obviously played light years better from when you first started, because you were just starting. So I really love that juxtaposition there.
Yeah, and that's why the time is just about right now for these, because I feel like if we would have produced these in like 1980, when they were actually could have been recorded, I didn't even know how to sing. I mean, I literally had just joined the band. I was more of like a barker, yeller, screamer, not so much a singer. And so songs like Nightage, which is one of the ones we've already put out, I wouldn't have been able to give that the same treatment I gave it this time around. I was actually able to sing it now as opposed to like yell it. So that's kind of nice to be able to realize that no matter how frozen these are in time, in that kind of those teenage years for us, I can give it a more mature treatment with my voice, and I think that's true of all the people in the band, where we learn how to play better, and then it just becomes something where you can execute the song better.
Of course. I know when it comes to the actual title of the album, it comes from the Long Beach practice space from way back in the day. So is that space still there, or is it somewhere you guys have kind of gone back to just for good old nostalgia's sake?
I don't even know who lives there now. And and in fact, I never practiced there. When they were practicing in Ninth and Walnut, they were a trio. It was Frank, Tony, Bill, because I was literally embryonic Descendents. By the time I had even heard of them and had gone to see them practice, they were practicing at the church in Hermosa Beach. And so, yeah, when Bill said, "Hey, I want to call this record Ninth and Walnut," I said, "What's that?" I had no idea. He said,
it's a garage, right?
This is a garage in Long Beach. And so I had him describe it to me, and I go, "That's cool." A lot of those early practice places were just really bare bones, and I said, "Well, did you even put up carpeting on the walls?" Because that's the thing that bands would do back then to insulate the sound, is put carpeting on the walls. And he said, "Nope, didn't even do that." It was just like bashing away in some garage, probably with gardening tools on the side and all this stuff. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I imagine it in my head. But I think it's a good homage to where it all began for them, basically. Yeah.
100%. I love the fact that right away you're like, wait, what are you talking about? But it does have still such significance to the band. So I love that you were able to work that in.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I can talk a lot about all my memories of joining the band, and then Bill, he can talk about memories that precede me, and I'm like, oh, cool. I hadn't heard that before,
Well, when it comes to this band and coffee, I know that you've had a very steady love for decades now. So I know it's kind of a joke in the beginning, but have you found that drinking it genuinely helps you kind of play and sing quicker?
Yeah, I feel like if I were to not drink coffee and go on stage, I'd probably be a beat or two behind everyone else. I mean, it's kind of like, this assembly line where we're all trying to kind of get in sync with each other. And I'd be falling behind in the assembly line. And so I drink it just because I want to keep up. And I mean, Bill drinks it because he wants to be able to play the songs the way the way they're supposed to be played, like how we recorded them, which was always way, way, way fast, and maybe some people would even say too fast, but that's the way we recorded them. So and then I think as years go by, he has to drink more and more coffee. So he's up to, like, I don't know, he probably drinks 10 espressos before he goes on stage.
Oh my gosh, what are you up to in terms of how many cups
I'll,
prior?
I'll drink 2 or 3 before I go.
Okay.
And
So
that
not
that
quite his level.
no, I guess, but of course I'm not the drummer, so I can just kind of grab on and hold on and stay with it with my 3 cups of coffee and do it that way. But yeah, it's a crutch. It's a kind of a performance enhancing uh, drug, I guess you'd say. Legal, but still,
Yeah.
it is a drug. But it's our drug of choice.
Hey, if it works, I guess, right? Well, I've always loved the band's mascot, Milo, of course. And I know he was created by a classmate who taunted you quite a bit growing up. But when you kind of look at the character now and how iconic it's truly become, what are your thoughts on how it went from this almost joke and this teasing to a truly iconic symbol in punk? It's so recognizable now.
Yeah, I mean, I think early on I was a little uncomfortable with it early on. Bill Bill and Frank wanted to use it for our first album, Milo Goes to College, and I I thought, okay, we'll do that, and then I figured that was the end of it. But then every subsequent record has been like, well, maybe we should bring this guy back, and we I think there were a couple of records where we got away from it, like, okay, we're done with the Milo character. We did Enjoy and All, and said no, and then it came back for Everything Sucks. So I kind of feel like at that point, I think we just kind of shrugged our shoulders and said, okay,
He's here to stay.
he's here to stay, and make the best of it. And we have made the best of it, because I feel like it's a way of, if you embrace it as a creative canvas to
Mhm.
then do fun stuff with it, becomes a lot of fun to design like t-shirts and just
Yeah.
art that involves that guy. I never expected that I'd be a creative consultant on a cartoon strip, but that's kind of how it feels sometimes when we're trying to design a shirt. And we would design shirts for every gig that we do, like over the past few years. Like if we're going to cities X, Y, and Z, we're going to be making a shirt for each of those cities, and they've got to be another kind of take on the Milo character. And yeah, it makes it kind of fun, to kind of use it that way, and get real creative with it, and use it in abstract ways, and just get as artsy as we want. So that's been the good side of it. The bad side of it being just I have to kind of divorce myself from the fact that it's that's me. It's like, wait a minute. It's like, makes you feel kind of weird, but I kind of feel like as long as I'm poking fun at it and having them do something stupid, then it's okay.
Well, it's interesting because it's almost become this weird symbol of power and something people relate to and they want to wear it with pride. So the fact it started off as something that, yes, was slightly a bit of a joke and now it's come to this point, I think that's such a cool story. It's such a 180.
Yeah, well, and yeah, and initially the guy that drew it, he was drawing it to kind of poke fun at me, and so that's the spirit of it that I think has to remain, is that it's
Yes.
this thing to poke fun at this guy who's, I mean, obviously I'm a nerd, and that comes across pretty well in that stick figure, that this is a nerdy guy basically, so it works for me.
Well, the last thing I wanted to ask you about is the fact that to many around the world, this band will go down as one of the greatest punk bands of all time. So to you personally, who do you think is the most legendary or iconic punk group?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of bands that
So
influence stuff.
many.
I guess the thing is I always, for me, I always harken back to what brought me into punk rock, because before listening to punk, I was a new wave kid, and I listened to Devo and the Cars and B-52s. I was
Amazing.
that kid. And the thing is at some point I went to go see Devo play, and the opening band was X. And then that just kind of opened up my brain to the fact that, oh, so this is what punk rock is. So X was, for me, was synonymous with punk rock. And I think, man, so that they were my entry point into all kind of LA punk rock. that was occurring at that time. And it was just this, everywhere I looked in LA, there was this great band. And so I could list lots of bands, but I have to go back to say X, Germs, and Black Flag is the three that kind of, I think, allowed me to open my my listening to the entirety of the range of stuff that you could hear in LA. I'm very LA punk rock focused, and I can rattle off all kinds of LA punk rock bands, but I'm going to just stick with those three: X, Black Flag, and the the X, Black Flag, and the Germs. I was going to say the Bad Brains too, because they're cool too.
They're great.
Yeah. How long is this interview? I can keep going, but that's okay.
Oh no, that was actually my last question. Oh, but you know what?
I kept it pretty simple to those four. I could have gone on. Yeah.
I think it's fascinating that you actually saw them opening for Devo, because when it comes to that band, they really do have a lot of punk nuances as well, the way that they would kind of carry their tunes. So I love the fact that those two crossed and the one introduced you to the other. That kind of blows my mind a little bit.
I think the thing with Devo, I guess, the whole time I was listening to the bands like that, I think in my head I was gravitating more towards just harder, faster music, and those bands allowed me, because there's some crunchy stuff going on with their guitars, and they do songs like Uncontrollable Urge, they starting to speed it up, and so I feel like that was me starting to kind of want to play harder, or wanting to hear harder, faster music, and then punk just kind of completed that progression. So I think it was great that they were like the gateway for that. So yeah.
That's incredible. Well, I want to say thank you so much, Milo, for taking the time, for coming on here. It's been wonderful being able to pick your brain. I cannot wait for this brand new record. So thank you so much.
Yep. Comes out in a week, I think. So
yeah, we're so close. Well, to everybody watching, this has been Milo from Descendents. Be sure to check out aliciatout.com for more exclusive interviews and features, and we will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.